So, lads, Alyssa Thomas, in what is a annoying but unsurprising situation, has completely exposed Stephanie White and has completely exposed a lot of the things that, people that are the Stephanie White detractors have said about her. And I will always stand by this.
The Indiana Fever arrived in Phoenix believing they were battling to keep their playoff dreams alive. Instead, they received a brutal reality check delivered by Alyssa Thomas. And trust me, this wasn't your typical after-game comment. This was the kind of statement that comes from someone who knows a coach inside and out and decides it's time to speak the truth. Stephanie White must have been absolutely livid. When a former player publicly declares that they predicted every single move you plan to make, that goes way beyond normal game preparation. That's a complete breakdown of your strategic approach. Let's step back for a moment. The Fever suffered another defeat. Are you surprised? Supporters who were already fed up with White's borrowed Connecticut Sun playbook had to witness their team collapse like paper against the Mercury. This wasn't simply another loss on the record books. This was the type of defeat where making excuses becomes impossible. Caitlin wasn't playing that night. Sophie Cunningham was out of action too. Fair enough. However, Alyssa Thomas hit the nail on the head. The game plans failed because every team in the league has figured them out completely.
Huge advantage. I mean, like you said, we played, 2 years? Everything's pretty much the same stuff. Defense, offense, we know everything they're about to do.
Picture this scenario. The head coach for the Indiana Fever is using game strategies that are so old-fashioned and easy to predict that players who used to be on her team can figure out every single move before the game even starts. Alyssa Thomas dominated with 23 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds, almost achieving a triple-double. While calmly explaining to everyone, this really isn't difficult at all. We can see exactly what they're going to do next. She delivered this statement with the same level of certainty as someone who already knows what tomorrow's headlines will say.
Yeah, I said earlier, I mean, we know everything they're trying to run. So we just form a game plan around that. And yeah, we know they're a team that loves to get to the free throw line. And our goal is just to limit second chance opportunities and just contest about that.
But wait, things get way more complicated from here. Stephanie White has a history with Alyssa Thomas. She used to be her coach. This means White knows exactly how Thomas plays, what she's good at, and where she struggles. So what did Thomas do? She completely called out White's coaching style right there for everyone to see. Picture this. It's like one street performer showing everyone exactly how another performer does their act while they're still performing it. This wasn't just smart basketball. This was straight up embarrassing for White. Basketball fans saw everything happen in real time and jumped on it immediately. Their biggest question made perfect sense. How can our team possibly win when the other side already knows every single play we're going to run? The answer is simple. You can't win that way. There's no way to be successful when your head coach keeps using the same old playbook that opposing players have been studying and practicing against for years. White kept telling the Fever organization that she was making changes and improvements to her approach. But the real question is, where exactly are these changes? Based on what Alyssa Thomas showed everyone on the court, it's pretty obvious those adjustments never actually happened.
Defense, offense, you guys might have heard it because it's really low. But defense, offense, it's all the same. We know everything they're about to do. We know everything they're about to do.
And then we have DeWanna Bonner. Oh, absolutely. Clark and Bonner got into it with each other, and it was absolutely amazing to watch.
Then you see Clark to the right behind the coach coming out and jawing it.
Imagine this scene. Caitlin telling Bonner to take her towering, pushy attitude and march it right down the basketball court. Bonner, who stands way taller than Clark, shoots back with words trying to scare her. But Caitlin refuses to step back, not even a little bit. That fighting spirit is exactly what Fever supporters wanted to see. Sadly, it's being wasted while White is in charge, where Clark's explosive skills are trapped in a game plan that every team has already figured out. Let's face the truth here. This goes way beyond just one single game. This is about a coach who appears totally overwhelmed. Stephanie White has only managed to win exactly one more game than Christy Sides did last season, even though she has a much stronger team lineup on paper. Just one more game. Let that reality hit you. We were promised that White would be the improvement, the reliable leader. The person who would elevate Caitlynclark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull to greater heights. Instead, the Fever played like a cheap copy of last year's team, and you can see the players getting more and more frustrated. You don't need any coaching credentials to understand what's going wrong. Aaliyah Boston, who won Rookie of the Year last season, seems confused most of the time. She's missing easy shots right under the basket, simple layups. People are now comparing her problems to Angel Reese's performance. And that comparison isn't even fair to Angel because she's actually making more of her shots. When Alyssa Thomas basically announces, "We know exactly what they're planning to do next," it makes Boston's decline make perfect sense. The opposing defenses know precisely where she'll go, exactly how White plans to use her, and they stop her cold. At the same time, Kelsey Mitchell quietly scores 29 points. Those seem like good numbers, don't they? But here's what's wrong. Her points don't feel like they change anything important. They don't swing the game's energy, they don't win games in the final moments. That's not entirely Mitchell's fault. That's because of a system that fails to make the most of her hot scoring streaks. Lexi Hull put in maximum effort, once again showing she's the only player on this roster who reliably makes shots when the pressure is on. But one player's determination can't hide a fundamentally broken strategy.
This is the biggest reason why StephanieWhite, I think, has been such a success with the Indiana Fever, because they're playing Connecticut Sun basketball. StephanieWhite is good at dragging teams down to her level. And you might have said, oh, but like, what about the game? And I do think that 1,000,000% Alyssa Thomas is a front runner. I think Alyssa Thomas is a front runner. She literally set her career high and didn't even go in for the press conference because StephanieWhite beat her. And the difference is the reason why the Fever won that game was nothing to do with their sets and their offense. It was everything to do with Ari McDonald just going head down straight to the basket. And Nate Tibbetts willing to let Ari McDonald drop 30.
Talk about saying the quiet part out loud. StephanieWhite got called out so badly by Alyssa Thomas that there was no sugarcoating it. No fancy words or polite basketball talk. Just pure honesty. We see your plays coming from a mile away. You can't put a price on that kind of brutal truth. Alyssa didn't just call out White's game plan. She pulled back the curtain on everything this coaching staff has been trying to sell us all season long. Let's zoom out and look at what's really happening here. The Fever are hanging onto a playoff spot by their fingernails, falling apart when it matters most. They've only won 4 games out of their last 10. That's the same number of losses as both the Storm and the Sparks. Speaking of the LA Sparks, they're right there behind them, just 1 game back and ready to pounce. Even Chicago, who's been absolutely terrible this year, is probably having a good laugh at this mess. If the Fever blow it now, don't blame injuries. Blame a coach who won't change her ways. This isn't breaking news either. Fans have been screaming about this stuff all season long. The predictable offense that looks just like the Suns' old style. 0 changes on defense. Relying on one-on-one basketball even when Clark isn't on the court. But now, Alyssa Thomas just proved every single fan complaint was right on the money. She confirmed what everyone already knew deep down. White isn't making adjustments, she's just running the same old plays over and over again. Here's the really awkward part though. Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner aren't just players on the other team. They used to play for White, and everyone knows they were her go-to players back then. Just watch White when she's coaching against them. Does she look like someone who's completely focused on beating her opponent? Or does she look torn between her old relationships and her current job? Like, she can't decide where her loyalty really lies? You don't need to guess. Alyssa's comments already gave us the answer. And where's the media in all this? Nowhere to be found. Dead silent. No hard questions during press conferences. Nobody holding anyone accountable for anything. The entire league seems to be pretending this huge problem doesn't exist. StephanieWhite is running plays that every team in the league can predict, and not one reporter has the guts to ask her about it directly. That's exactly why Alyssa's words hit like a truck. She said what the sports writers won't say. She said what fans yell at their TVs every single game. And she said it with the credibility of someone who knows how White operates from the inside. Now, here's the part that really hurts. If Caitlynclark doesn't come back this season, and honestly, who can say for sure at this point, you can partly thank White for that. When your best player doesn't believe in what you're doing, doesn't see the point in risking her health for a system that other teams have completely figured out, why would she rush back? Clark will return when she's good and ready. That's fair. But you can bet she's watching this coaching train wreck and asking herself, do I really want to jump back into this disaster before next season starts? The smart money says no. This isn't just guessing either. It makes perfect sense. White has shown she can't keep her players safe, can't bring out their best abilities, and can't make changes when things go wrong. When your opponents are openly making fun of your strategies, that's not just a warning sign. That's the whole building on fire. So let's be completely honest about what we're seeing. StephanieWhite is in full panic mode. Alyssa Thomas called out the whole fake setup, and now everything is falling apart. The Fever can't blame injuries anymore. They can't make any more excuses. They've been completely exposed by one of their own coach's former players, and it doesn't get more embarrassing than that. Here's what really makes Fever fans want to pull their hair out. When Alyssa Thomas said, "We know everything they're about to do," she meant every single word. Go back and watch the game footage. The Mercury knew exactly when to send 2 players at Boston, when to back off from Odyssey Sims, when to make Kelsey Mitchell take difficult shots. They weren't just responding to what happened. They knew what was coming before it happened. This is what happens when your coaching becomes so predictable that opposing teams can prepare for everything you're going to do. The Fever aren't losing because they don't have talent. They're losing because everyone in the league has cracked their code, and their coach refuses to write a new one. This is exactly what you get when your game plan becomes so easy to read that players who used to be on your team can predict every single move. StephanieWhite talked about making changes, but what actually happened on the court? We saw the exact same boring offensive plays they've been running all season. The same obvious pick-and-roll plays that everyone sees coming. The same predictable passes into the post that opposing defenses have been shutting down for weeks now. Alyssa Thomas didn't just point out one weakness, she called out everything wrong with how this team operates. When a seasoned player like Thomas speaks that directly, you better believe every other team in the league is paying attention. Trust me, coaches around the WNBA are already cutting out that interview and taping it up in their team meeting rooms. Here's what makes this whole situation so frustrating. The Fever were supposed to build their entire strategy around what Caitlynclark brings to the table. This player can knock down shots from half court, break through any defense, thread passes through heavy traffic, and force teams to send 2 defenders at her. So why on earth would you lock her into such a predictable system that every opponent has already figured out? Even when Clark comes back from injury, if White keeps using the same outdated approach, she's basically just putting a world-class talent into a completely broken framework. That's not real coaching. That's just wasting potential. Let's get real about what we're seeing from the sideline, because the panic is written all over White's face during games. Real panic isn't just about the losses piling up, it's about getting completely outcoached and having absolutely no backup plan ready to go. Just watch how she carries herself during games. When Phoenix started going on their scoring runs, White wasn't switching up defensive matchups or calling new plays. She was just walking back and forth with her arms folded, looking like she bought a ticket to watch instead of being the person in charge. Her assistant coach, Austin Kelly, actually seemed more involved in trying to fix things. That picture tells you everything you need to know. And here's the thing. The players can see all of this happening too. Professional athletes always know when their coach has run out of ideas. They can sense it immediately. Look at Aaliyah Boston's body language after she misses another easy shot near the basket. You can tell she doesn't trust the game plan anymore. Kelsey Mitchell might be putting up decent scoring numbers, but even she knows her individual efforts aren't going to change these game results. Lexi Hull is still giving maximum effort out there, but you have to wonder how much longer she'll keep believing her big shots can actually make a difference. Once players start doubting whether their coach has real solutions, that locker room chemistry can fall apart fast. This brings us back to what made Alyssa Thomas's comments so brutal. She wasn't just criticizing the team's offensive and defensive schemes. She was talking about something much more fundamental, the personal connections. She said it completely plain, "We know everything they're about to do." How is that even possible? Because White is still running the exact same system she used when she coached Thomas and DeWanna Bonner years ago. She's using identical plays, making the same coaching decisions, and sticking to the same overall philosophy. The WNBA changes quickly every single season. When you're trying to win 2024 games using strategies from 2019, you're going to get destroyed. And Thomas made sure everybody in the basketball world understood that. This whole mess also shows us a problem that fans can't just ignore anymore. The loyalty factor. How intensely is White really trying to beat players she obviously still cares about personally? You can see her face completely brighten up whenever she talks about Bonner and Thomas, even right after they just dominated her team. That's not the competitive fire you want to see. That's just getting caught up in old memories. And those warm feelings don't help you win important games. They actually cost you victories. So now Fever fans are asking the question that's been building up all season long. How much more of this are we supposed to put up with? This isn't about having one terrible game. This is about a pattern that keeps repeating itself. White has been completely outcoached multiple times already this season. Other teams have figured out exactly how to trick her into bad matchups. They've learned how to take advantage of her stubborn refusal to change things up during games. And now her former players are saying it out loud. This isn't just guessing anymore. These are people who actually played for her telling the truth. What Alyssa said creates problems way beyond just losing one game. It shines a bright light on the people making decisions for the Fever. Are they brave enough to admit they picked the wrong coach? Or will they stick with their choice, hoping that when Clark comes back, it'll make everything look better? Here's the thing we need to understand. CaitlyncLark is a once-in-a-lifetime player. But even she can't rescue a team from poor coaching. She can't just wave a magic wand and make the predictable plays disappear. If White refuses to change her ways, Clark will keep hitting brick walls no matter how many incredible three-pointers she makes from way downtown. Now let's talk about making the playoffs. At 21-20, the Fever are barely hanging on. Winning only 4 games out of their last 10 isn't the kind of energy you want heading into the playoffs. It's actually the opposite. They're falling apart. The Sparks are getting closer in the standings. The Storm are playing solid basketball. And the Fever look like the team every opponent hopes to play when it's win or go home time. Why would teams want to face them? Because they're the easiest team to figure out. Alyssa spelled it out perfectly. You can predict what they're going to do before they even do it. That's exactly what opposing teams love to hear. But here's where this story gets really fascinating. What's going to happen during the offseason if nothing changes? Picture being CaitlyncLark, watching your first year in the league get thrown away by a system that makes other people laugh, and then someone tells you, hey, don't worry about it. We're doing the exact same thing next year. That would be a complete disaster. Star players don't stay with coaches who won't budge. They don't waste their best years playing in systems that hold back their talent. If the Fever don't fix this mess, they might push away the one player their whole future depends on. And White definitely knows what's at stake. You can tell by watching how she avoids questions about injuries, how carefully she talks around Clark's situation, how she tries to change the subject to things like effort and competing hard. Those are the words of a coach who's run out of real solutions. The fans aren't falling for it anymore. They want honest answers. They want to see changes. Instead, they're getting weak excuses and a game plan that everybody can see right through. So yes, StephanieWhite is absolutely in full panic mode right now. Not because the Fever lost another game. Not because players are getting hurt. But because Alyssa Thomas just pulled back the curtain and showed the entire league exactly what the problems are. No adjustments during games, no growth or improvement. Just the same tired playbook used over and over again until even people watching from home can guess what play is coming next. And when someone who used to play for you goes public with criticism like that, it's not just embarrassing. It's the end of the line.